Ladies and gentlemen, our next speaker, we're talking about the digital sovereignty and critical infrastructure. The speaker is the co-founder and CEO of Senhasegura. Please put your hand together for Marcus Scharra.
Thank you. Hello, hello. Can you hear me? Yes? Assalamu alaikum, my friends. I am extremely happy to be here today. And let me tell you why. A few years ago, together with my partner, we decided to start an organization called Senhasegura, a cybersecurity organization. Since then, we have been working around the world to protect the critical infrastructure. But we never thought that it would be here in Saudi Arabia. But last year, we got investments from American investors, and most of them came from Saudi. So we have Saudi partners in our portfolio. And they told us, you have to go to Saudi. You have to see what they are doing there. It's amazing the transformation that you are doing in the world. So more than doing what we do every day, there is protect critical infrastructure. We are extremely happy to be here doing this in Saudi, because what you are doing is really, really impressive. You are changing the world, changing one region. And as you want to be a cyber reference in the world, I am extremely thrilled to be here. So thank you very much for opening this space for me. I will talk to you a little bit about what we have been doing. There's protecting critical infrastructure. Let's go. So ensuring digital sovereignty, and this is a theme that is very important for us, right? So the first thing we need to understand what is sovereignty. And when it comes to digital, we need to understand what's sovereignty in the digital world. So from our perspective, and what we have been talking with our customers all over the world, what means sovereignty from a digital perspective? It means to guarantee that all your critical infrastructure resources are being used only for your own interests. Nobody inside or outside your organizations can use it for one purpose that was designed by the company. So we need to guarantee that every single resource is being used properly for the benefit of the organization, right? And that's sovereignty. All right, so in digital world, it's the same. But when we think about digital sovereignty, we are also thinking, what is critical infrastructure? So here you can see all the verticals that we have. So every time you disrupt a critical infrastructure, you have a huge impact. And that damages society. That's why the decision of Saudi Arabia to become a reference on cybersecurity is so important. And I have been walking all around the world, and I have never seen such a tremendous effort to do such a big change in such a small period of time. So we need to protect banking and finance. Imagine disrupting the financial system. Energy sector, you know pretty much, right? You hold one of the most important reserves of oil in the world. Data, cloud, space, communications, all this are really important for society, for the counter operations, so we need to protect it. And we need to guarantee that all this infrastructure has its sovereignty protected. Right, so what is the scenario that we have today when it comes to sovereignty, critical infrastructure? First, we need to understand the most of the critical infrastructure that we have today are operating more than 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years. So they are not prepared to support some risks. In a certain way, the fact that they are old, they have that gap, what they call air gap. There is a natural protection because they are not connected. But as we see the change in the infrastructure, moving to more IoT stuff, that is very important because then this infrastructure can be exposed. Then we have a lot of vulnerabilities because of the complexity of this environment. Also, we have very skilled threat actors. 20 years ago, we didn't have such tremendous power, cyber power, and threat actors to attack such critical infrastructures. Now, they are very professional. They are states. They are criminal organizations. So it's very powerful, a very powerful team prepared to attack one specific organization. So when they decide to do it, they have years to do that. And it's a high impact. So the scenario is we have a vulnerability, legacy system, threat actors, very advanced, and also high impact. So that said, what's happening in the market right now? So we have seen a tremendous growth of cyber attacks. So numbers of attack has grown 40% this targeting IoT, and this is only on Middle East region. So the attacks are skyrocketing. Ransomware incidents, everybody's aware of it, right? Every time you see a situation that is creating disruption in the market, ransomware attacks, threat actors, really damaging cyber gangs, cyber crime organizations. So this is also skyrocketing. So the danger is getting worse. But what are the most attacked industries in the sector? And here we need to be very careful. So the first one is the government. So imagine, we had the chance to participate in one of the most important cyber attacks that happened in South America to the Supreme Court. So think with me, if you disrupt the Supreme Court, a government agent, what happens? If you just can't move forward any process or law process, you completely disrupt the society. And we had the chance to participate with it. It was amazing to see and feel the impact of it in the society. So governments are the first one target. Second, manufacturing. Manufacturing is a very complex environment because in manufacturing there are a lot of legacy systems. So tough. They are migrating to IoT, they had old legacy, all these are being connected and they need to move fast because they want to increase the efficiency, they want to be innovative. Tough scenario. Energy, you know, we have been protecting companies, energy, the second biggest energy using in the world we have been protected, nuclear power plants, so also very disruptive. You need to be careful about it. Telecommunications, imagine. Disrupting telecommunication system, interrupt policies, hospitals, basic service, everything could be disrupted with the telecommunication service. If you are working as telecommunication services, you need to know everything is connected through your network. So if it's disrupted, tremendous impact. Also military industrial finance. So they are everywhere, mainly targets high value targets, but all of them, most of them are critical infrastructure. Right, and what are the most attacked countries in the Middle East? So this research showed that the main country being attacked is Saudi Arabia. That's why this mandate to become Saudi Arabia the main reference in cybersecurity in the Middle East is so important. You are the main target, one of the main targets in the world. So there is a tremendous responsibility to go to that place to protect critical infrastructure. Well, that is really astonishing, right, to see how is it. But just two quick examples. China was one of the cyber attacks that happened here in the Middle East, targeting oil infrastructure. Just to see how real it is and how tough it can be. We saw the colonial pipeline compromise the United States. Also, huge impact, disruption of oil. Really, really, really tough. Right, so cybercrime is everywhere. And how much it costs? So this research showed that today, $10 trillion are the total cost of cyber security, cybercrime, the impact of cybercrime, a lot of. It's biggest than the biggest economies in the world. $10 trillion are spent all over the world to protect, and damage, to recover from damage. And here I will talk a little bit about one specific subject that is the reason why we operate with critical infrastructure today, that is privileged access management. Or, to make it easier, administrative accounts. So administrative accounts are the accounts that every single system inside any bank, government, telecommunications company has with full power to manage that device. So imagine a firewall or firewall, any mainframe, any IoT device inside any organization or manufacturing. So the administrative accounts are the main accounts that can configure and cause damage to this. And 80% of the cyber attacks on today go through this kind of privileged account or these administrative accounts. So this is really important to understand why this happens. And the main reason is because managing administrative accounts stuff is not easy because they have their own life cycle. So that said, we need to be aware that protecting critical infrastructure is really something that needs to take account privileged administrative accounts. So what does it take to understand privileged accounts or administrative accounts? So every system has one administrative account, and you have 3 key steps to manage it. So first, you need to know where is it. And before you use any administrative accounts, you have to request it. So to manage it, you have to protect this step. You have to guarantee that any requests are registered and approved. Then you need to track the usage of this privileged account. You need to know what's happening, when it's happening. Always try to prevent any disruption before it happens. And then you need to verify what was done with this account. So this cycle seems to be simple when I show it here, but in fact, doing it with thousands of administrative accounts inside one power plant or oil industry is tough because you have so many devices with many different accounts, many different protocols, different use cycles, stuff. And that's why, because it's so tough to do that, 80% of the cyber attacks go through it. So, what is the matter of sovereignty? To guarantee the sovereignty, we really, really, really need to control over the infrastructure. So, sovereignty means control the infrastructure. If you don't have it, you are in trouble, right? And if you don't do it and you are disrupted, then you have disruption in the society, disruption in the economy, disruption in one region, disruption in the world. So that's not easy, a tremendous responsibility, and a very important matter. So what are the challenges today? So most of the infrastructure, as I told you, are composed, mainly in critical infrastructure, are composed by old and legacy systems combined with the new IoT devices. This combination is not easy to be done. The companies are rushing in order to have it to changing the cycle, but at the same time, they need to understand how to adopt a protection policy, how to adopt a system that can guarantee they can do this change from one scenario to another scenario in a safe way. And when we don't do that, that's the funny part, because even if you try to do it and don't do it correctly, the enemies, they have all the time to do it. If you look to the main cyber attacks to critical infrastructure, they take years being prepared. They can deploy a ransomware, they can wait years to launch it. It's not easy. So, the challenges are huge, and managing it requires a lot of attention. That's why all the regulations on critical infrastructure that Saudi Arabia is being developed is so important. We need to adopt it, we need to use it, right? Few news about what's happening here. So this is really about adopting IoT. So more and more companies are trying to adopt IoT. IoT devices are being developed in a way that they are not that secure. So part of the critical problem here is that we need to demand for vendors that they invest a lot in research in order to make these devices safe. Because one single device in the middle of millions of devices can cause tremendous damage, right? So, what is the road for digital sovereignty? Means what I need to do in order to guarantee that my infrastructure is protected. Mainly when I have tremendous infrastructure, such a tremendous infrastructure like you have here, providing oil to the whole world. So the first thing is that I need to be aware. And be aware of the risks and the infrastructure is also not easy. Second, requires a lot of preparation. And this way, what Saudi Arabia is doing is amazing, because you have been working to prepare yourselves. We have been investing. So this will be very helpful. On top of this awareness and preparation, you need to take robust measures. And okay, don't mistake. Robust measures mean be extremely conscious and exigent in terms of implementing these policies. You need to implement it. I talked to you a little bit about the vendors. So guarantee that your hardware, your infrastructure doesn't have any cyber risk. It's an obligation for vendors. But there are vendors that are concerned with sovereignty. That's our case. So we try to align everything that we do with the long-term interests of our customers. That's why before start any critical infrastructure, and that's the way that we see that it's possible to deliver a good and a strong security for customers, is to understand what's the long-term roadmap, how we can move from the basic use cases until we get the more sophisticated use cases. And that's what we have been doing all around the world in order to transform a kind of unsecure infrastructure, critical infrastructure, into security. It takes time, needs to take one step at a time, right? You need to guarantee that your vendors support your local roadmap. In such a thriving economy like yours, changing so fast, there are a lot of new regulations. So you need to have vendors that really contemplate your local demands. Otherwise, you won't have a technology. You'll be adapting your infrastructure to the technology instead of the technology being served the interest of your company and your country. And you need to have skilled people in the role. So the reason why I'm saying that is because when you invest in technology, you need to think about it. How I can have more and more people trained in the soil, right? So the key takeaways go into the final part. Digital sovereignty is crucial. In order to guarantee the stability of the economy, the society, you need to manage digital sovereignty. You need to understand what is critical, what impacts your sovereignty, and how you're going to do that. And that requires time, investment, and preparation of people. Protecting critical infrastructure is hard, it's not easy. So you need to be aware that it's going to take time. You need to train your people, you need to invest in process. It's tough, and there is a huge impact to do that. Here is the matter that we work more, that is privileged access management. As I told you and I showed you, is 80% of the cyber attacks go through privileged access account. So it's very important to manage it. And that also requires training, process, policies, and technology. And at the end, it never ends. Cybersecurity requires a continuous vigilance. So you can't sleep tight every day. You have to be your eyes open always. So, with that said, I need you to realize how important is the cybersecurity job today. How important is protecting critical infrastructure when you can disrupt your local society, your company, and also the country. That's why we have been working here in Saudi together with our team almost 3 years to deploy for you a local experience, working with local investors to guarantee that not only you have a local technology, but also you have your roadmap attended, you have local people training, and you have your sovereignty rights, including auditing the source code and guarantee no backdoors, no geopolitical interference. That's also important. So thank you very much for your time. Shukran. I appreciate your time here today, and if you have more questions, you can meet our booth.